So alright students, for this lesson what we'll be going through what we'll be going through is map reading skills, how to read a map, what is on the map, as well as the different skills associated with map reading. Alright, so without further ado, let's move on with the lesson. So firstly, what are topographical maps, or what are the maps that you see in your examinations as well as in your textbooks? So basically, topographical maps are a representation of the Earth's surface. So it shows you features on the Earth's surface such as mountains, hills, human settlements, etc. So what do I mean by a representation of the Earth's surface? So on the left, you actually see an image of what reality looks like from a satellite's view. So what you see over here is what you will probably see in real life. So what I mean by a representation is that you are taking this image of what real life looks like, and then you are changing it into a graphical representation. You're changing it into a kind of an image that uses symbols to tell you what different places mean. So for example, let's take a look at this. The blue star on the map here, which four-figure grid reference is 5503, is a star. So we see here a place of worship. And what do we see on the satellite image? We actually see a mosque here. So in this light blue areas here, we see buildings, as you can see in the legend, and over here we also see buildings. So you see what you see in reality can actually be changed into a map or an image. Alright, so this is a sample topographical map. Now I am going to actually explain to you why people actually study map reading. So why is map reading so important? So firstly, we study map reading in order to pinpoint locations easily. So for example, you have a map, I have a map. So I can just tell you which area I want you to go to, and you will be able to look at your map and identify in which direction you're supposed to walk, how far you are supposed to walk. And secondly, it allows you to study a terrain from a bird's eye view. So for example, you guys play games such as Call of Duty, PUBG, that actually uses maps in order to identify, for example, where your enemies are at. So you will need, in reality, if you choose to work in the army, you will actually need to know how the terrain is like in order for you to plan your moves. So that is why map reading is so important. So now I'll be going on to explain to you parts of the topographical map. Alright, so at the top, at the very top, you will have a title which tells you what is this map about. So for example, this is a map of location X. So moving to the next one, we see these numbers 55, 56, 57, 58. So these are the eastings. Remember, eastings run from left to right. So an easy way for you to remember is to draw out a compass, and you see east and west, it's left to right, therefore it is eastings. And then secondly, over here you have the numbers 04, 03, 02. Those are your northings. So if you take a look at the compass, northing is from up to down. So please do not confuse the eastings and the northings. And then here we have the north arrow, which shows you which direction is north. So remember, use the north arrow in order to help you remember the northings as well as the eastings. As you can see, the direction of the north arrow resembles that of the direction of the northings. Next, we have the scale over here, 1 is to 10,000. What this basically tells you is that 1 cm of the map is equals to 10,000 cms in reality. So let's say I move from this square over here and I move up. Let's say the on the map it is 5 cm. So on the map, if it's 5 cm, it means that in reality it is 50,000 cm. Alright, so the line scale is used for when you want to actually use to identify how far is two locations and how small it is, how certain distances are represented. So for example, what you can take is actually, let's say you take a string and then you put it between two locations. You can actually use the line scale to identify how many kilometers or how many meters a particular distance is. Alright, so over here we have the legend. So the legend basically tells you what the symbol on the map means. So for example, let's take a look at this symbol here. What does it stand for? It stands for a running track. So rather than me drawing the whole running track, I can just simply use symbols to tell you what different locations on the map actually mean. So just to bring to your attention, you see over here lines with numbers. So these are your contour lines. Your contour lines actually tell you the elevation of land. So for example, here is 100. It tells you that the land here is 100 meters above sea level, 200 meters above sea level, 300 meters above sea level. However, we will cover this later. Alright, so let me introduce you to a guide to map reading, alright? So, the basics, reading 4-figure grid references. In order for us to identify objects on the map, let's say I want to tell people about this blue star here. How do I tell them which box to look? Do I count the number of boxes and then ask them to count also? No, we actually use 4-figure grid references in order to quickly identify a location on the map. So, what is the coordinates of the blue star? Let's learn how to identify a grid square first. Okay, so now I will teach you how to read a map. So, let's look at this question here. What is the grid square of the smiley face? So the two squares here you see are the similar squares that you see on your map. So over here you have your northing and over here you have your easting. So how do I tell people which box is the smiley face in? Well, that is very simple. So you would do a loser sign like this and then you would read the eastings and then northing. So remember your alphabet. The letter E comes before the letter N. So you read your easting first, after that you read your northing. An easy way for you to remember is read this first, which is easting, E, and then you read the northing, which is the N. So you will, based on your loser sign here, you will read the digits on the box that are on the bottom left. So in this case, it is you read the easting, so 0, 0, and then you read the northing, 2, 3. So for me to identify where the smiley face is, I would tell someone that the smiley face is in the grid box 0, 0, 2, 3. Okay, so the bottom left corner of the grid square is the coordinate. So mention the easting first, followed by the northing. So you identify the grid square here, and then what do you do next? Alright, that's right. You read the easting. So remember, read the bottom left one of the box. So 0, 5, 5 is the easting. Draw a line up, and then you read the northing, which is 0, 3. So if you actually bring out your hand to the screen and then you do the loser sign, you will see that if you, on the bottom left corner, it is 5, 5, 0, 3. Alright, very simple. So after you have learned this skill, 4-figure grid references question will be of no problem to you. Alright, so take 2 minutes to think about this 3 questions. Which direction do eastings run? Left, right, or bottom up? Which direction do northings run? Left, right, or bottom up? Which do you read first? Easting or northing? So think about the answers for this question and rewind to the earlier parts of the video to check whether you got it right or wrong. Alright, so here are the answers that are correct. So eastings run left to right, northings run bottom to up. So which do you read first? You read easting first because the letter E comes before the letter N. Alright, so we have looked at all these questions. You guys should be able to answer these questions as well as apply it to your map reading. If you're having troubles identifying a grid square, feel free to rewind back to the earlier sections and go through the different parts and make sure that you understand the different parts before you move on. Alright, so these are some practice questions that you can attempt in your skills book, page 28-29, question 1. Now let's look at your compass bearings. Okay, so when you are talking about your compass directions and bearings, there are only two things for you to know here. Firstly, the directions on a compass, and secondly, the compass bearing, which refers to the